Hello, everybody. Thank you. We won't take too much time. We'll try and do 10 minutes. So I'm Sarah Hopkins, Director of Cynnal Cymru. So we are the Living Wage Accreditation Partner for Wales. We work in partnership with local authorities, with Cardiff University, with citizens leaders to promote living wage accreditation and ultimately to lift workers out of in-work poverty. So we'll skip this bit. So what is the real living wage? So the real living wage is the only rate independently calculated based on the cost of living for workers and their families. It's calculated by an organisation called the Resolution Foundation and overseen by the Living Wage Commission. So this is a body of academics, trade union representatives and the private sector. And importantly, it differs from what is confusingly called the national living wage, which is the government minimum for over 23s. So a key thing about the real living wage is that it is paid to all workers over the age of 18. And Mary will talk a bit about what accreditation means. So its calculation is overseen by the Living Wage Commission and it's calculated on an annual basis. It's usually calculated in and around April of every year. And during November, we have Living Wage Week where we celebrate the progress of the movement and also look at some of the challenges that are coming up. And the new rate is usually announced in November of each year. However, because of the high inflation and the cost of living crisis, this year the decision has been made to announce the new rate in September. So if any of you are living wage employers, you'll already have been notified of this. But what it means is that any new employers or existing employers in the network will have until the following May to uplift their lowest paid staff. Now, the challenges, we all know that it is a really tough time for everybody, and the Living Wage Foundation, Cynnal Cymru and our partners in Scotland are looking at how we can support particularly those smaller organisations to remain part of the living wage network. We know it's not going to be easy. The new rate is probably going to be quite a large increase because of the cost of living, but we're working on that and there'll be more comms coming out on that. So where have we got to in Wales? So at the moment, we've got over 430 accredited living wage employers. Interestingly, at the beginning of 2020, we had only 190. So what we've seen through COVID is more than double the number of living wage accredited employers in Wales. And this is for a number of reasons. So difficulties in recruiting and retaining staff, more of a focus on low-paid sectors, particularly around the food system and those frontline workers. And also, focus on organisations wanting to differentiate themselves. So the result, in Wales, over 17,500 workers have been uplifted onto the real living wage since the movement began in 2012. Obviously, as I've just said, with huge growth in the last couple of years. And this has put approximately almost £66 million back into the pockets of low-paid workers in Wales. UK-wide, this is about 1.3 billion. So the economic impact of paying a living wage is quite huge. Mary.
Thank you. Yes. So just os fi gallu siarad Cymraeg am spell, if I can just switch to Welsh for a second. Mae hwn yn pwnc sy'n really pwysig i ni. A mae'r proses yn really hawdd, actually. So mae just eisiau cyflogwyr wneud siŵr mae bob aelod o staff nhw yn ennill cyflog byw. Ar hyn o bryd mae hwnna'n 9.90 bob awr. Ond hefyd mae rhaid i chi cymryd cyfrifoldeb fel cyflogwyr, neu os chi'n gweithio i cyflogwyr, wneud siŵr maen nhw'n meddwl amdano contractors a subcontractors hefyd. So mae rhaid i chi gweithio gyda nhw, sy'n rhaid i chi talu cyflog nhw, ond wneud siŵr mae'r cynllun gyda nhw i talu'r cyflog byw hefyd. A na'r ran mae lot o cyflogwyr mawr yn tynnu nôl am, achos mae eisiau gwneud tymau bach o waith ar ochr na. Ond ni'n mai helpu chi gyda'r agenda yna. Mae Cynnal Cymru a fi yn y ranbath yma, Cynnal Cymru dros Cymru i gyd, gallu helpu chi gyda'r proses, a mae proses yn hawdd. Just fform ar y safle we, a wedyn ni'n gallu gweithio gyda chi trwy'r proses wedyn. So, mae Prifysgol Caerdydd wedi wneud lot o ymchwil mewn i'r beth sy'n digwydd ar ôl mae bobl wedi achredu, a mae lot o peth positif wedi dod mas o hwnna. So mae'r data yna i dangos mae retention, reputation a recruitment yn gwella. ar ôl chi wedi bod cyflogwyr cyflog byw yn sbel. Os chi'n gyda ni yn blynyddau, mae hwnna'n gwella bob blwyddyn a mae data na i dangos na. A mae'r cyfrifoldeb gyda ni gyd i wneud siŵr ni ddim yn gweithio gyda bobl sy'n fodlon talu cyflogwyr clodi. So fi'n mynd i symud mlaen yn gloi, ond mae lot o data gyda ni. Os mae diddordeb gyda un o chi, ni'n gallu rannu yr ymchwil na gyda chi. A mae hwn jyst i dangos, mae data na, ond mae bobl lleol sydd wedi ychredu gyda profiad, maen nhw'n rannu gyda bobl hefyd i dangos. Mae hwn yn effeithio bobl fel unigolion a hefyd fel cymunedau, ond hefyd mae'n dda i busnes hefyd. Mae'n really helpu busnes, y bottom line. So dyma'r enghraifft o 2 cwmni yn Cymru, Halen Môn yn y Gogledd a Cold Town yn yr ardal yma. Ond mae hwn yn dangos, mae storiau mas na i dangos y ffordd mae'n gwella busnes, ond yr effaith mae'n cael ar bywyd bobl hefyd.
Thanks, Mary. Okay, back to English. So we just wanted to briefly touch on living wage places because there are certain parallels, or a lot of parallels with sustainable food places, and actually the opportunities to collaborate more and work together are there. So living wage places is an initiative across the UK. Across the UK there's about 16 local action groups and about 11 recognised living wage places, including some really large living wage regions, so Greater Manchester and Greater London, for example. And these are places where local action groups make usually a 3-year action plan to increase the number of workers earning a real living wage in that geographic location. So like sustainable food places, Living Wage Cardiff, for example, has a steering group which is cross-sector. Cardiff Council is on that, Citizens Cymru, Cardiff University and private sector employers as well. So but also just to say, I think the structure is the same, but also one of the focus areas for both Cardiff and Mid and West Wales is the food system. So in Mid and West Wales particularly, we're looking at, we met with the Agriculture Advisory Panel, so we're looking at the entire food system from agriculture and growing right through to retail and hospitality. So just to say about Cardiff as a living wage city, this Cardiff Living Wage Partnership was formed by Cardiff Council in and around 2019. A 3-year action plan was created. The baseline was about 80 living wage employers, and there's now actually over 170. This has resulted in about £39 million into the pockets of workers in Cardiff. The number of hospitality and food businesses is still quite a small proportion, but this has grown a lot over the last year. And Cardiff Council launched an accreditation support scheme to actually pay the accreditation fees of organisations with fewer than 250 workers. And again, the Food Cardiff Pledge, which we'll see in a second. So there's now kind of good collaboration and join-up between the two groups. And we'd like to see more of this because we think living wage places could be a really good partner for sustainable food places. And then Mid and West Wales. So this was this initiative started earlier this year following the accreditation of Dweud Powys, Police and Crime Commissioner. It covers 6 local authorities. They're listed up there, and I know a couple of them we've heard this morning already have sustainable food groups. And the focus areas are agriculture, the food system, retail, tourism and hospitality. And the official launch was in June in Cydweli, and we'll be doing further follow-up meetings in Living Wage Week in November. So just to mention, it's already been mentioned a couple of times, Food Cardiff, it was really great to see the recognition of the living wage as creating a sustainable food economy, but also it's important to pay all workers across sectors a living wage so that we can improve accessibility to healthy and sustainable food. So this is from Food Cardiff website, and we'd be very happy to work with others to develop case studies, to sit on steering groups and vice versa, if there are opportunities for further joined up approach. So what's next? As I mentioned, September 2022, the new living wage rate will be announced. The Living Wage Week is from the 11th to the 14th of November. We are looking at different sector events that we could do, possibly one on food and the food system. And then we're hoping we'll have official recognition of Mid and West Wales as a living wage region and launch the next 3-year stage of Cardiff as a living wage city. Thank you.